Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome.
This is episode 49. We are so close to 50 episodes, and I cannot believe it. It's so
Yay. I
exciting.
know. So exciting.
So, we are definitely looking forward to getting some suggestions from you guys about things you want to hear about, topics, all of that as we go into the second half towards 100. So, please send in all the ideas. We want to hear them. But today we wanted to get into a kind of dicey topic, which,
Dicey topic of no contact.
ooh, okay. So I know you and I have both dabbled in no contact. We've had to stick with it. And this is something that we teach a lot of our clients and talk to our friends about with relationships that are toxic or unhealthy or like bordering on dangerous sometimes, and like
Mm.
why no contact is the way to go. I think we've touched on this in our gray rocking episode. But can you tell us a little bit about like the no contact idea, the theory behind it, like what makes it hard, something like that? What's your perspective?
I think there's like a plethora of reasons, but I would say no contact is the only way. So when we say no contact, we're talking about literally not having any contact with an ex, like an abusive relationship, when you're trying to move forward, when you're trying to, you know, heal from something, a relationship. Why? Because, again, multiple reasons. But the first things that stick out to me are it's so easy when you're in a vulnerable state to forget why you're leaving one,
Yeah.
right? So then you're like, stepping out of it, trying to move forward, and then this contact or this curiosity or this feeling of loneliness, or they slip back in because they're wanting to reel you back in. And
Yeah.
that vulnerability is so hard when you're in that state of like, hey, you feel familiar, or this is comfortable, or I did want this to work. And it's like tricks your brain, right? Because
Mhm.
you see a little bit of hope and glimmer,
Yeah.
and it tricks you back into like, I am going to get suckered in, or maybe we can try this again. And it convinces you in that vulnerable state that I make the right choice. And it confuses everything instead of, no contact, I think, is so good in the sense of it's going to give you so much clarity because it's like everything. Once you're out of something a little bit, you see, oh shit,
Yeah.
like this is what was going on. But when you're too close to it, or you keep getting reeled back in when you're so emotional about everything, you
Mhm.
still don't have clarity. So, with that being said, I want to hear from you before we maybe go into why it actually is so hard.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, and I think that when you're existing in a vacuum of no contact, not having, that means nothing. That means you block their social media, you block their phone number, you're not checking on what they're doing, you're not asking about them from other people, you're declining phone calls. Like it literally means zero things because now you're existing in a place where they're having no impact on you, not emotionally, not verbally, not physically, nothing. And you're kind of able to step back and look at the situation for what it was. And you can look at the good, you can look at the bad, and really have an objective perspective about what went wrong, what you need, and what you need to move forward. So I think the problem that I hear a lot of justification for breaking no contact is, well, I don't have closure. Closure is
Mm,
something 95% of people never get because you can justify, well, that's not enough. I don't feel like that's what I was looking for. I need more than that. I'm not comfortable with this. Like, let me just ask all of my questions and get it off your chest. It's never going to end. With a person you truly need to go no contact with, they will come up with the most far fetched, insane stuff to keep you hooked, to keep you emotionally connected, and it will be nearly impossible for you to go no contact at that point.
mm,
So get rid of the idea of closure. Like it's not going to happen with the types of people that you have to go no contact with. Period. That will
yeah. And I would say closure is something I teach doesn't come from another person. It comes from yourself.
100%.
So
Yes.
if you're trying to be like, it's like that stereotypic quote that's like, why are you trying to heal from the person who hurt you?
Yeah.
Like they're not going to be the place where you're supposed to get comfort because that ends up in that abusive cycle, right? It's like, how do you get closure? You process and you understand it and you move through it, and their reasoning why is never going to make sense. And even if it did, it doesn't really matter.
No. And it's not, I think it is not going to foster healing after the fact, after you've been hurt, knowing their why or their excuse or their justification for the way that they spoke to you or treated you or lacked in your relationship, you're never going to get that internal peace that you need if you keep seeking it from them because
Mhm.
you're externalizing that need for something from
Yeah.
that person. And that means that you are bonded to them in a way that you have to look in yourself and figure out what is keeping you close and bonded to this person. So, why is it so hard? I mean, there's so many hard reasons. Like it's easy to say, "Oh, well, I'll just check and unblock their phone number and just see if they called me." I will unblock and see what their reposts on TikTok are. Like, are they thinking about me? Like, oh, it makes
Mhm.
me feel powerful. Justify it all you want, but you cannot say you're going no contact and then do like recon missions on
Right.
that person. You're going to get hurt. It's
Hmm.
going to be hard for you to get out of that hole. So, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, have had this conversation about like what will make it easier for you to stay no contact. Like, what is the boundary that's missing here that you keep breaking it? You keep giving this person an option to come back in your life. And, oh, well, we're going to touch base like once every couple of weeks and just see where we're at. No,
Right.
that's not no contact.
Right. Because then you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of that? Right.
Right.
And I get that it's hard, right? Because
Yeah.
I would say for a lot of people, right,
Mm-hmm.
there's this, and me and you have talked about this in probably multiple episodes. Like when you have like this genuine soul and you're a good person, right? You're really trying to understand or like see the good in somebody else, right? So you're hoping like, oh, maybe they'll get clarity and we'll be okay, or and
Yeah.
you're trying to convince yourself that they'll come around. So then it's like maybe if we rekindle and touch, they'll see. It's like this yearning for them to see something in you or change their mind, which again, that like sabotages your confidence too, because now you're like, I need that to feel better about myself.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And I also, even beyond that, think that it still gives that person power over you. When
Absolutely.
when you are like, "Hey, I broke up with them," that was you taking some power back. So
Hmm.
every time they come groveling and they convince you that it's a good idea, let's meet up for coffee.
Yeah.
Let's like just text every 2 weeks or whatever. That it's a slippery slope. Now they're
Hmm.
texting you, "Oh, I have an emergency. I need to talk to you. Something
Hmm.
really bad has happened. You're the only person who's going to understand me." And that
Yeah.
good, genuine, compassionate part of you is going to be like, "Oh my gosh. Yeah, like
Right.
I cared about this person. I'm not a jerk. Like, what's up?"
Hmm.
And what I encourage you to do is move the needle back, right? Now you're looking, instead of looking at the things that are disproportionately good, you're looking at the things that are disproportionately bad. What is it that made you leave this person? So when they're blowing up your phone because you made the mistake of unblocking them,
Hmm.
what was that moment that you remember being like, absolutely not? And latch on to that moment and latch on to that version of the person and decline that call.
Hmm.
Because they don't have access to you because of the 5 minutes here and there that they were good to you.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Hmm. I think that's hard for people because again, I think there's like multiple things. Like the two things that cross my mind when we're talking about it is I think we all, and some people wounded differently. There's like the empath person, right? That's like when you gave those examples, it's like, yeah, right. You start feeling so bad about them that you start forgetting about yourself, where you're
Yeah.
like, when that person's like, I need you, you're the only one that's going to get me. And that's that, whether it's manipulative or it's an attachment, whatever it might be. It's like, you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I do get them. I want to show up for them. They need me. We had this relationship, we had history. Like, I can show up for them.
Right.
And then it's that. There's that part. And then the second part, and I think they pretty much can go hand in hand though, is like that confidence. Like when your confidence is low or
Mm-hmm.
you're getting confidence needing it externally
Yeah.
because of for whatever the reason is and you're struggling, it's like that's like a confidence boost, right? When they're like, I
Yeah.
need you. Like
Yeah.
you're the only one. It validates like, oh, I'm wanted, I'm needed. And
Mm-hmm.
then you hook onto it
Yeah.
but what does it actually do for you? Longevity, nothing.
Nothing, because when you were in that friendship or that relationship with them, you weren't needed and validated.
Right.
This is a tactic that these types of people use. And
Right.
that's something that I also, again, like move the radar back. When you were with them and you were the one and only person that they loved, they treated you like trash.
Hmm.
But now that they've lost you, they need you. And you're like, wow,
Right.
that feels good. Let me latch onto that. Like, this is what we talk about in abuse cycles and toxic relationships, right? It's convenience. And it's
Right.
recognizing that that's a void you have, that's a vulnerability that you have.
Hmm.
And in reality, when you fill that for them, they're going to come back to you when they need you. And you're
Right.
going to be on the wayside like trash again.
Right.
That is terrible for confidence. That's terrible for learning, okay, I'm holding a boundary here. Breaking up a relationship or a friendship is not enough. It's not enough
Hmm.
to just do that if you can't follow through with it. And I feel like in no contact situations, you have to go like literally balls to the wall where there is
Hmm.
no room for any type of wiggle room.
Yeah, I would say, and for all my people, this is like the older I got, the more I had to learn
Yeah.
this, which was very hard, which is like you literally have to pretend that person's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like
Yeah.
it's the no contact rule to me is like you are dead. Like let me act like you do not really exist because that person, that version of them that you thought they were is
Mm-hmm.
gone. And if you can accept that they're actually dead, you can start grieving them. But what happens, I think, in the no contact,
Yeah.
it's like you're not fully grieving them because you're staying hopeful and
Yeah.
that attachment wound and all that stuff starts playing out. But if you can help yourself being like, how do I just start grieving the relationship,
Yeah.
grieving them as a person as I know them, acting like they're literally dead, even if they're alive, which that's why we always say that sometimes the hardest ways to grieve are people that are actually still alive because you're like, you know, they're you can reach out. It's not like they're not here. But if
Mm.
you tell yourself, no, that version of them, that person that I actually love is not alive,
Yeah.
then it definitely just helps you like open your mind to just like, let me just feel the pain of it to
Yeah.
move forward. So when they reach out, it's like that person's dead and that attachment starts to move on. But a lot
Right.
of times you want to act like that person's still the same person or we're not wanting to grieve them. So, you know, you'll hear people all the time go through like, I think the biggest thing I've heard with even like clients and friends and stuff is like, I can't picture this person not in my life though. Like, I don't want to. And so it's like that's so scary at first to be like, oh, I spent 8 years of my life with this person, and to like completely have them not part of my life is so scary. So what if we just break up? But we're still gonna like be friends, and you're gonna convince yourself that like this
Yeah.
could work though. We because I don't because we had so good times, and I don't want to let it go. AKA, I don't want to grieve and completely move on. So let me do these little tactics that are actually gonna hurt me more.
Yeah. Right. And you know what? I think what also makes it hard is when it's not a mutual decision, when you do the ending of the relationship and the other person is manipulative or they're not going with it. So it's like
Hmm.
you shut the door, but this person is knocking and knocking and knocking and not giving you peace to be able to step away.
Hmm.
That's hard because it's
Hmm.
not like, hey, I'm over this, we're done, and then they just leave you alone and go live their life. It's hard when they're reaching out to you and they're checking in with you through other people and they're finding every possible way to get themselves on your radar.
Right.
It's hard, you know,
Hmm.
and I think it would be easier if you could give them the contact photo gravestone and be like, you're done, and block them, and they are out of sight, out of mind. But a lot of times, the people you need to go no contact with are people who will not do that. They will not let you exist peacefully. They will not
Yep.
let you go easily. They're going to find a way to now become the victim and be like, oh, well, I'm in therapy, or I found religion, or I see the wrong in my ways, and you were the only person I ever loved, and I
Yep.
don't know why I cheated on you, and I don't know why I
Right.
betrayed you and lied to you. You know, I was just in a vulnerable place. And it's like, none of that is good enough. But
Right.
you're taking the breadcrumbs, like you are literally taking the sprinkling of things that they can give you, and
Right.
they're never going to be enough for you. That's why you made the decision to end it in the first place. But
Right.
now there's the regrets and there's that fear and everything, and they're like, here's a glimmer, you know?
Right.
But And I think what makes it also hard is that these people, when they seek help, are going to go to people that reinforce what they want to make, they want the narrative to be.
Right.
You know, like I recently was talking to someone, not a client, it's a friend of mine, that her ex-boyfriend now is in therapy, like great. I mean, this is a perfect example. Is in therapy and said, "My therapist said that the reason that I cheated on you is because I have like deep childhood wounds." And okay, took it a step beyond that to say that it was basically her fault because she didn't see his wounds. And I was like, hard stop.
Pause. Hard pause.
Like,
It's
there's
not your fault.
not your fault. And my friend was like, yeah, but like the therapist said. And I was like, that's a bad therapist.
Okay, first of all, I totally can get on the first board of like,
Yes.
hey, my therapist said that, like, yeah, the reason I'm acting out these behaviors is because maybe I do have some trauma I haven't healed, and like, this
Yeah.
is the reason why I struggle staying faithful. Like, I can get on board with all that, but
Hmm.
there is no justification. It's like,
No,
I fucked up. I'm trying to learn why, and I
I'm
did you
gonna own
dirty.
it.
Let me own the accountability, but it has nothing to do with like it's
No.
the other person's fault for not learning about me or
Right.
knowing this. Like that, you can know somebody's wounds all day and it doesn't justify their behavior. It just
No.
helps you understand maybe why they were the way they were, what they've been through in the past. But if it's done on your time, you're
Yeah.
still doesn't deserve. I'm not going to
Right.
say, I mean, unless you're going to, which couples have. Like I know I've dealt with couples who like have had hard things happen and they both want to work on it, and
Yeah.
somebody's made a mistake, that's fine. But it
Hmm.
doesn't justify it still.
No.
It's just like if we are going to reconvene or break up, what's the understanding piece?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure. And like to use that in a manipulative way and
Right.
be like, oh, it's your fault, but also I need extrinsic motivation because the therapist supposedly said something like, you can't want things for yourself, other people have to want them for you, and it's more powerful, which is like psychology 101, absolutely wrong. Okay.
I need this therapist's name
I
and
know,
number, and
like
I
we're gonna call the board. Just kidding.
right.
But actually, sort of, yes. Like that, it's so wrong. And to use things like that, like I'm speaking to a professional, I have a life coach, I have a spiritual leader, and they're telling me these things, and I need you as part of my healing journey. You can say, kick rocks.
Hmm.
That's not part of my healing journey to be your support when you hurt me, you know?
Absolutely
And
not.
I think that is a key part that you have to accept to be okay with no contact.
Absolutely.
They don't need you to do anything. You
Well,
have free.
I mean, a need to me, anything that's a need is something that's we're in like fishy territory because it's a difference between I want.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I want you to work with me and to heal this. I would love if we could work on this together and I'm working on my issues. Okay, a want is a want, but when somebody says like I need you for this to work, like that is an attachment issue, that is cringe, that is victimy, that's like
Yeah,
you're the only way I can get better. Like,
yeah,
no, that's like save that shit for the fucking birds, dog. Like,
yeah.
absolutely not. Like, like that's how I feel
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, 100%. And it is hard when you are like trauma bonded, when you're in an abusive relationship or a toxic
Yeah,
relationship, to hear that person who hurt you be
yeah.
like, I need you. And to be like, see my finger, here it is.
Hmm.
Adios. But that's part of your healing process. That's you being able to say, like, I don't need to heal anything from you because you hurt me. And if I turn
Hmm.
around, as I have our entire relationship, and said, I need this from you because it is a need, and you spurned that, I don't need to return the favor, bro.
Yeah,
Absolutely
absolutely.
not. And it is okay to read a really emotionally charged text message or, whatever. People are so creative. They make like a Google sheet to talk to you.
Right.
Like I've heard some insane shit,
Same.
but, literally, like, oh, here's $1 on Venmo so they can leave you a note this long. I miss you and I love you. Get out of here.
Right. But it's like it literally is that manipulative plant the seed though.
Yeah.
Like if as long as I can like get you to think of me vibe,
Hmm.
right? Like
And
it
now you're
which is
spiraling.
you're right for sure. And that's why I always tell people too, like which I get it. Well, everything we're saying easier said than done, right? So I don't want anybody to feel like there's judgment and criticism here because
No.
like I've been there. I fucking know what that's like. So, but like I always say like if you can try to figure out the story you're telling yourself, because a lot of times things I'll hear when I'm like, if you imagine your world without this person, like
Yep.
acting like they're dead, like you'll
Hmm.
start hearing like no one's gonna love me like they did, though. What if I don't find another partner? They're the only one that accepted me for X. Then you're hearing all this shit that's like the work for you to do
Yeah.
because it's not about that person. It's just like now all your fears are coming out, your
Hmm.
anxieties. And so now you're realizing what is attaching you to somebody too,
Yeah.
right? Because those are like, those are your anxiety thoughts that are going to drive you to doing the behaviors that are going to keep you in the hole. Because,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not lovable though, and this is the only person. Like, if you convince yourself that, and that's
Yeah.
unconsciously, subconsciously driving you to be like, well, I got to keep contacting them because what if I don't find somebody? And what if I never get married? And what if I, then the next thing you know, you're going to put up with shit and be okay with stuff because that
Right.
fear is so
Mm.
deep inside of you that you don't know what to do if, okay, let me take a step back and be like, that's irrational, but like, why is it there? And how do I look at it without this person?
Right.
So,
And I think too, it is okay to have to sit with that fear that you have. It is
hmm
okay to have to feel that unlovableness that
hmm
to some extent we all have a part of us that is
yeah.
hard to be with. You
It's
know, and
uncomfortable.
yeah, and it sucks. I mean, it sucks to feel rejected or abandoned or betrayed. It
hmm
sucks to not know what the future is, but I mean, that's part of being human. Like, it's part of
Right.
existence is to have uncertainty, and you cannot trap yourself into something abusive and toxic and hurtful and painful just because you think that's better than waiting a little while for what might
hmm
happen. So, that's part of no contact too. You have to be okay with sitting with yourself. And honestly, it's okay. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this because I think it is okay to say, X person is dead to me. I have struggled to be alone. I
hmm
need to talk to friends. I need to build that support system
Yeah.
and not feel in a void. I think the careful part about that is you're not replacing that person with another stand-in person. So if you're
hmm
breaking up a relationship, you don't want to be like, okay, I'm moving on really quick. I'm rebounding really quickly. There's no recovery time. But if you're like, hey, I'm really sad all the time and I'm thinking about this person a lot because we spent a lot of time together, like I need to make time for my friends and get on FaceTime and call people and not feel lonely,
hmm
that's okay because that's a
Absolutely.
healthy way of dealing with that emptiness. But at
hmm
some point, you're going to have to sit in your house by yourself
Right.
and be lonely and think about
Absolutely.
the hurt. Like you're going to have to sit with that because you sat
hmm
with it and tolerated it with this person in your presence. Why can you not sit with it and tolerate it with them not there?
Right.
That's the issue. And that's hard because it
Right.
is hard. You're
Uh-huh. Because
compromised when
a
it
lot
is.
of times people will be like, which I think it's interesting, but it's so true. It's like when you say it out loud, you're like, okay, it sounds so weird, but it's true. I get when people say it, I'm like, I get it because I remember like I was single for a long time, but I remember that when I first was single, it was like you're used to having somebody at home. You're used to being like doing life with somebody or having someone to be with, right? So like you can occupy yourself all day, and even though you might feel lonely with that person, there's still something. And I one of my clients said that she's like, Alessia, like, yes, I know I feel the loneliness with my partner, but there's something about the body next to me that makes me feel safe. And I was like, girl, I get it, right? It's like you feel
100%.
like that with family. Like it's not always just, I know we're talking about intimate relationships, like with family, when you first move out, it's like coming home to your own space at first. I remember I used to have that, like coming home to my own apartment was like so scary at first when I'm like, I came
Yeah.
home to, my mom and dad and my brother, and there was always friends at my house. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, now I go home at night and it's super quiet and
Yeah.
it's weird. It's probably why, I always have dogs, but it's like, but it is the reality of like, I like what you said because I definitely think that's like, we, it's never like we don't teach you to do stuff like cold turkey, right? Like we don't get anywhere cold turkey. Like, let's cut something off. It is like, what is the gradual thing that I can implement that's healthier to help
Yeah.
me get to where maybe I need to be? When you're going through a breakup or you're going through no contact, the best thing you can do is like bring awareness to like, nope, this is when I usually want to contact this person. Yeah, I'm gonna start calling my friend. I'm gonna start going to my friend's house. I'm gonna say, hey, I struggle at 8 p.m. at night. Hey girl, can you come over and sit on my couch and watch a movie? And then
Yeah.
eventually, like, you
Hmm.
start at least like replacing, but it's not like full replacement. It's just,
No.
how am I gonna cope with it healthily right now while I learn to be with myself? It's like exposure, right?
Yeah, right. And small things too. I think it's important, let's shift focus a little bit to how do you maintain no contact, right? Because we know why it's hard, we know why it sucks. It's not easy for anybody. Let's not sugarcoat that. But going no contact gives you a blank slate. And this is when I love to encourage people to do a vision board. Like, what's missing from your time and your heart and your spirit? Is it that you don't have hobbies anymore? Is it that that relationship changed your interests? It changed the way you spend your time, the things that are important to you. Okay. Do you not have hobbies anymore? Okay, on your little vision board. Like, it can be physical or it can be in your mind. What do you need to start with?
Hmm.
You don't know how to stay busy now? Okay. What are some things that you can try? Okay, well, I always wanted to do art. I always wanted to go on road trips on the weekend. Okay, do those things. It might be uncomfortable, but this is the opportunity to say, well, nobody's stopping me. Nobody wants to do something else. So maybe it starts with what would fill my time? What would make me happy? What are things that make me feel like myself that I don't know anymore?
Right.
One of the things that with two of my clients now, I've encouraged them to make a folder on their phone, and every day that they see something that makes them happy or that they're like, wow, I love that, take a picture of it and put it in this folder. And the reason for that is because that gives you a sense of like, okay, that's me though. There's a lot of like art, there's a lot of nature
Right.
pictures, there's a lot of like books or parks or whatever it is, food. Wow, maybe
Hmm.
that's me. Like, I'm coming back into myself. And that
Right.
makes it easier to separate the you from the you and that person, whether it's a friend or a relationship, right? Like, you're kind of having a vision that you can swipe through and be like, okay, that is me.
Right.
Cool. What makes me happy? What would keep me grounded and stable and something I can turn to? Like, if you love going to obscure shops and thrifting, right? Okay, well, I want to call this person because I miss them. You know what they hated? Thrifting. I'm going to go
Right.
do it.
Hmm.
They hated going to the beach. I'm going to go.
Right.
Why? Because that's me. And
Right.
that person would stop me from doing those things. So
Hmm.
sometimes having habits like that, where you're like getting to know yourself as a person, makes you like yourself, makes you
Right.
confident that it's okay that you exist in this space,
Hmm. Yeah, I like
So,
everything you said because I tell anybody, whether they're single or they're in a relationship, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't fucking matter. When a client comes in my room and they're even struggling with depression, some high anxiety, whatever, I'm always trying to scan like, what does this person's life entail? Right? Like, what
hmm
does all their shit entail? And it's interesting. I
yeah,
had a client recently and he was like, struggling with like work stuff and wife stuff, not happy in his marriage, like work stuff's rough, but he'd only talk about those two things. And I literally just put this thing out in the room and was like, okay, here's like you, here's your wife, here's work. And like I took his wife out for a second, saw how he felt, and then I put her back, took work out. And then it was interesting. Once I took both of them out, I was like, okay, now what? Like, what is it with just you? And he was
yeah,
like, oh, oh, I don't fucking know. I'm like, well,
right,
you're not making any decisions with what your relationship or work because you have no sense of what else your life entails.
hmm
So if you leave your job, you don't have a life. If you leave your wife, you don't have a life. So
yeah,
the reality of that stuff, like identity and confidence and like people looking at themselves, and I get it because we get lost in relation. I know your world changes, which it has to when you're in a relationship, right? You do share stuff with everybody, but I always say like
yeah,
when you're working on yourself, the more it's like this is yourself and the more parts of yourself that you know. Like,
hmm
if we could get like 15 of things, like all your hobbies, all your interests, your roles. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm an aunt, I'm this. Know your roles, know your hobbies, know your interests. What things make me happy? I like going to mountain climbing. I like to travel. I like going to the beach. I love going and decorating, and I like that, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have a whole bunch, I know you know your routine. What do you do when your partner's working? What do you do when your kids are off at school? Like, who are you
Yep.
without if you took one of those away? That way, when I build somebody up, say worst case scenario, you do go through a divorce, you need to go no contact. That's one thing that falls off. So does that one thing,
Yeah.
maybe it's like the biggest thing, right? If you're like, my relationship's one of the biggest things, but I have all these other things. If that falls
Yeah.
off, you're not like, oh my God, I hate everything. I have no, you know, when you hear the sentence, like, I have no reason to live, like, my world is over. And you're like, losing one thing, it can be a big thing that's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. Like, but you still have all these other reasons. The more things you have to be like, wow, I still enjoy my life, the more people are
Hmm.
able to bounce back. Now, the less things people have here, they're like
Yeah.
that contact is needed. Why? Because you're like, I don't have the fun thing.
Hmm.
I don't have the friends. I don't have the life. I don't have a structure. My life revolved around this one person.
Yeah.
So when we're breaking up or when they're gone, that is why I believe that no contact for people can be the hardest because you're like, my world revolved around you and now I don't have you. So if I feel anxious or uncomfortable, you are the person I know that filled everything for me. So
Yeah.
that's like the best who I think somebody can do is like try to fill yourself. What would I always take your, even if you have the best relationships, take your partner out of your relationship. What is your ideal day without them?
Yeah.
Like, and then that way
Yep.
when if it happens, you're like, I still know what I'm gonna do the day I wake up without you. And a lot of
Right.
people won't know that. And that's why that contact is hard because it's like I revive my life around this person. So,
Yeah, I think there's like a couple ways that I like to visualize because I do a lot of parts work with
yeah.
breakups and no contact
Hmm.
and stuff like that, which I mean I love that you brought it up because I think it's really powerful to see like people are not just one big bubble with stuff inside, right? It's like you're kind of in the middle and then there's all of these pieces of you that
Hmm.
change and they become bigger and smaller over time. But, with that one person or situation that you go no contact, it's kind of like I visualize it as like a mess that's really hard to clean, like detergent on a floor or like oil on a floor, right? Like you can get the bulk of it up, but if you don't really scrub that out of your life, you're going to have residue. And that's
Hmm.
just going to continue to be there until you let it go completely. And
Hmm.
that's what it's like to have a porous boundary with somebody. They will always find a way to like leach back in and zap some of
Hmm.
your energy. It's not gone. You're not just clipping off that part and being done with it when you leave the door a little bit open.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's very difficult to put energy back into yourself and those other parts that need to be nurtured and fostered to grow when you're letting this little part drain so much energy
Hmm.
constantly,
Yep.
you know? So, I mean, it's hard. We don't want to sugarcoat that it's easy, but I think this is really important to talk about because now that boundary setting is becoming less taboo and it's something that we're teaching people, this is one of them. Like, it is okay to give someone that gravestone and really be done. And you
Hmm.
have the agency to decide that this is not part of my life anymore. And I'm
Right.
sorry that it hurts you, but like I already went through the hurt and I made a decision that was best for me.
Hmm.
So deal with it another way. You're
Right.
gonna have to find somebody else who can be that person for you because it's not me.
Right.
Or,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of situations that are hard. Like if you're a business partner and things go south, or if you're going through a divorce and you have kids, or you have property together, or something like that. It's hard to like have a complete break, but there's a way that you have to learn how to communicate with people where the no contact about certain things, right? Like if it's a business partner, we only talk about business. If it's a co-parent, we only talk about the kids, and sometimes there have to be layers to that. So I think that that's hard because what I always hear is, well, I can't go no contact with my ex-wife because we have kids. Okay, but you can when it's not about the kids. You
Absolutely.
don't answer questions that are about your personal life. You don't answer questions that are about, well, why do you need to switch your day? You don't answer questions about yourself. You
Right.
literally only talk about your shared interest, your property, your kids, your pet, whatever it is.
Right.
So, there are ways, and that's so hard because that sounds like a justification. Well, we have kids, we can't. We have property, we can't. We have a business, we can't. Okay, this is how you exert your boundary, though.
Right.
You
I
know,
feel
you
like if,
have a very firm fence
yeah, I feel like that is, and
around
I feel
certain
like that's
things.
what people struggle with, right? Because you're like, you have to really look at changing the relationship and making sure you know what you're talking about. So, and I want to say this before we
Yes.
end though, because I know you gave examples. So anybody listening, I also wanted to get, I know it's probably even harder. Like you mentioned, if you broke up with this person, and I also want to know there's the reverse, right? If you got broken up with, that's sometimes harder, right?
Yes.
Because you're like, I didn't even want the breakup. This person broke up with me, and now they keep still playing the game. They broke up with me, but now they're still like, wait, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
100%.
And so I didn't want to forget about those people either. Like that's sometimes harder because you're like, I didn't even want this, but now I'm in this game, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be with me, but they're still trying to be with me. And it gets confusing. And
Yeah.
that's like, okay, I wanted to stay with them. So now what? But then it's like building awareness around the game, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if they broke up with you, like, do you deserve like somebody that's going to keep doing this with you? No, they should be sure of you. They should want to be with you. So I just wanted to put that out there too, because I know there's like people that are going to be listening that have like different reasons for whatever the breakup, whatever happened. Um, yeah, the
Right.
no contact is necessary, and I would say we said this in another episode too. I think a lot of this goes hand in hand, but I think today why it's so difficult too, and this is why I have empathy for people. It's like you really have to be stern on all platforms because we're mentioning like block their number, but it's not just like now block their number. It's like block their TikTok, then they can make another TikTok, block that TikTok, block Instagram, block their friends on Instagram, mute their friends, block their Facebook, and
Right.
then WhatsApp. There's like it's like now it's like oh shit. So that's why I'm gonna say have grace for yourselves when you're going no contact because a person who wants to find a way to get to you always will, like you said, Venmo, Cash App. So it's like eventually hopefully you can like cross your T's and dot your I's and figure all of them out. And that person still may weasel their way in, but it's like hopefully it's less and less and less the more you can
And
block.
that's the first time. Yes, don't be afraid to do a social media purge. Like, it is okay to unfriend dozens of people who might be a point of contact. It is really fine. Your
Hmm.
peace is so much more valuable than you getting a DM from somebody, hey, so and so wanted me to just say hi and check on you. Nope,
Hmm.
no, that violates your no contact. Sorry, like, I don't
Right.
care.
Hmm. And
Than to
so,
have,
and I would say tell your friends. This was like important and previously for me when I was younger was like I would tell my friends like I don't want to
I
know.
don't want
Don't tell me like unless I ask like, "Hey, can you tell me X?" Then it's
to,
not
yeah,
just like, oh my God, can I tell you what I saw so and so? Because it's like you have to do what you have to. If you know things are going to trigger you and make you spiral or make you really
yeah,
the urge to reach out or whatever, until you reach a point where you know it's like, oh, I can hear stuff and it's like I've moved forward. That those first
right,
months of the no contact are very delicate for you to like set the boundary with your friends, with your family. Like either
yep,
you guys all delete them or I don't want to hear about it. So
yeah,
set that
100%.
boundary.
Yes, 100% very important. Like, be totally firm. And
Hmm.
I think maybe like we could probably put together like a little TikTok video or something for you guys
Yeah.
about maybe all the places that you can look to go no contact with somebody, like list all of the platforms and everything, just so you could be like, okay, missed one,
Right.
and we can help you stick with it because we've been there, we help people get through it. So
Yeah.
we understand it is hard,
It is hard. So have
but
grace for yourself. We get it.
we get it. Hang in there, set your boundaries, and please, please, please send us ideas for topics you want covered because the next episode is the big 5-0.
5-0.
It's crazy.
Give us a good topic, team.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, until next time, let us know your thoughts,
All right. Bye,
and we
squad.
will see you later. Bye, guys.